You spend the whole day doing nothing but playing video games. Can't you at least go out and look for a job? Just look at your room, it's a complete mess. In Tokyo, Japan, a middle-aged man opens the door of his 23-year-old son's room and starts shouting at him. After all, the boy hasn't set foot outside the house for more than 2 weeks. After a deep sigh, the father rushes out to catch the subway, pushed along by his wife, and before leaving he still slams the door hard behind him. In another corner of the house, the father of this man, the grandfather, lies in bed, gravely ill, barely holding on to life. 3 generations under the same roof: the elderly, the adults, and the young. So what exactly happened to these 3 generations in Japan? Japan's economy took off in the last century with the wave of industrial revolution. Along with economic growth came the baby boom, the country's great demographic advantage. In the late 1990s, an entire generation was born catching the last train of rapid economic expansion. But soon after, they faced a financial crisis that nearly bankrupted Japan. These babies, who never enjoyed the benefits of the economic boom, also ended up losing a vibrant youth. Today, in their early 20s, many live like real zombies. These young people even earned a name in history: the decadent generation. They dream of a successful career, but firmly believe that Japan's golden economic age is gone forever. They grew up surrounded by this internal conflict, slowly losing passion and hope for the future. If you walk through the streets of Tokyo, especially the Shibuya crossing, the largest in Asia, you'll notice something curious. A sea of rushing middle-aged adults. But where are the young people? A study by a professor at Beijing Normal University revealed that if you pick a random passerby on the streets of Japan, the chances of it being a young Japanese person are less than 10%. So where are they? Hiding inside their homes. Japanese youths have become pioneers of lying flat, the culture of giving up and withdrawing from society. They're known as otakus: no social life, no dating, indifferent even toward family relationships. The number of otakus easily reaches the millions, spread across cities of all sizes, and this includes both genders. They've completely changed the world's image of Japan. Many still imagine those cheerful Japanese girls in short skirts during winter, full of energy. But that image belongs to the past. Today, the proportion of single women between 18 and 35 is around 51%, a shocking number. When these statistics first appeared, many online users thought it had to be fake. But it's real. Being young should mean dating, planning the future, dreaming big. But Japanese youth have all but abandoned even the basic instinct of finding a partner. And it doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, almost none of them want to date, and even less marry or have children. Take Matsumoto Hatsune, a young Japanese woman from a wealthy family, daughter of a senior executive. Just mention dating or marriage and her face collapses as she begins to vent. Dating? It's just one problem after another. Honestly, it's better to stick to fairy tales. Isn't work tiring enough already? Why would I look for someone just to share more stress and frustration? And she's not alone. Due to Japanese cultural norms, even girls from rich families are expected to start working early, not to become decorative figures. That's why many of them don't see romance as something desirable. And poor young women? Their situation is even worse. Young people from ordinary families carry 3 heavy mountains on their backs. The responsibility of caring for elderly relatives, economic pressure to have children. In East Asian culture, the idea of family runs deep. One single child often has to support multiple elderly relatives. And Japan is one of the fastest aging countries in the world. The result: young people with little money, heavy workloads, and overwhelming responsibilities. A bit of pressure can be good, but too much pressure destroys anyone, and it destroyed Japan's youth. They work without motivation, live just to survive alone, and move through life almost mechanically. Asking them to date, marry, or have children, practically impossible. And the middle-aged adults, the ones who should be the good example, unfortunately, they're collapsing too. This generation was born at the peak of Japan's economic prosperity, abundant wealth, endless opportunities. But the outcome? Middle-aged adults are also taking desperate measures. The reality is harsh. They grew up at the top of Japan's economic well-being, spent money as if it would last forever, and lost everything in the financial crisis. When the new century arrived, they had no savings left and were forced to return to the job market, earning low wages, enduring pressure from bosses, trapped in suffocating office routines. According to Japan's white paper on suicide prevention, The suicide rate among people over 35 has been rising year after year, even as the country's total population continues to shrink. In the last quarter of 2022 alone, the city of Nagoya recorded 244 suicides among middle-aged adults, the highest number in more than 30 years. On January 22, 2023, a middle-aged employee of the Japanese company Dentsu reached a breaking point when he climbed to the top of the building and ended his journey in a tragic way. His name was Daikai Kumatai, and he had just turned 49. In his daily life, he was always kind to his co-workers. No one suspected the storm he was carrying inside. But his life had fallen apart. His parents had recently been hospitalized. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier. His 2 children spent nearly the entire day at home, neither studying nor working. His only reason to step outside was to go to the convenience store and buy a bento. At work, he faced constant pressure and humiliation from his superiors, along with heavy overtime. The entire family's income depended solely on him, and all the responsibility fell squarely on his shoulders. Enormous hospital expenses, supporting his children, deep loneliness, years of emotional weight piling up. The accumulation of these pressures pushed him to his limit, leading to that desperate act atop Dentsu's building. Daichi's case is far from isolated. Many middle-aged Japanese earn modest salaries but must support elderly parents and adult children, an almost impossible task. On top of that, they grew up during Japan's golden economic era and cannot cope with the brutal contrast between the prosperous past and today's instability. Some even end up taking jobs considered less prestigious, such as janitorial work, security, or service positions, roles they never imagined doing decades earlier. With the rise of these tragic episodes, the Japanese government began sending police teams monthly to monitor certain sensitive areas. Officially, it's for prevention. In practice, it's to deal with what has already happened. Meanwhile, young people are unmotivated, and middle-aged adults are crushed under the weight of responsibility, which leaves us with the elderly. And their situation is just as troubling. In the past, Japanese elders were admired for their longevity. Today, they face a cruel reality. The longer they live, the harder life becomes. Many spend their days alone, drinking, simply waiting for time to pass. A typical scenario looks like this: a person retires at 65, but after paying off their mortgage, almost nothing is left. So they must keep working, even into their 70s or beyond. Longevity, once a badge of pride, has become a burden. Amr Masashi, the protagonist of the documentary The Ruin of Old Age, is a living example of this drama. He lives in extreme poverty. Fruits and vegetables are luxuries, they almost never appear on his table. His meals consist of cheap sushi and bento boxes, calorie-dense and low in nutrition. And every day, to endure his routine, he drinks a few sips of shochu. I worked hard for half my life, and in the end, why do I still have to face this? At 65, he managed to find a job as a cleaner, but soon lost it. The government claimed elderly cleaners damaged the city's image. With no alternatives, Amr withdrew into isolation, his eyes losing their former brightness. In Japan, nearly 10 million elderly people are still working, and we're not talking about respected professors or experienced doctors, but manual laborers who remain active out of necessity, not choice. Now the government plans to raise the retirement age to 70, claiming it's to better utilize the potential of longevity. But everyone knows it's a desperate attempt to patch a weakening economy. The most surprising part: some elderly people actually want to be imprisoned. In 2022, the crime rate among seniors surpassed 20%. Many intentionally cause minor incidents just to go to prison, where they have routine, company, meals, and attention. For them, prison has become almost a senior community center, and the reason is simple: loneliness. Compared to living alone, drinking every day, and waiting for the end, for some elderly people, being in prison isn't punishment, it's relief. Unmotivated youth. Adults at their emotional limit. Elders abandoned by the system. Japanese society is trapped in a silent cycle that's hard to break. Today, 1 in every 3 Japanese is elderly. Only 1 in every 9 is a child. The lack of generational renewal and the deep discouragement among the youth have turned the country into a place of silence, exhaustion, and uncertainty. It's impossible to predict where Japan is headed as birth rates fall and the population ages. But one thing is clear: the loneliness of the elderly, the unbearable weight on adults, and the youth's lack of interest in the future will become increasingly common. like an inevitable shadow over the archipelago.
In the end, when we look at Japan today, it's almost impossible not to feel that there's a kind of silent contract between the generations, a contract no one signed, yet everyone is forced to follow. Young people lock themselves inside because the world outside doesn't feel welcoming. Middle-aged adults carry responsibilities that go far beyond anything healthy. And the elderly, well, they're simply trying to survive, in the most literal sense. Does it sound exaggerated? Maybe. But it's interesting how this story, which many see as distant, is starting to feel familiar in other parts of the world too. The difference is that in Japan, everything happens at a larger scale. More silence, more pressure, more loneliness, and fewer people being born to renew the cycle. It's like watching a country trying to keep running with essential pieces missing. A beautiful clock, but with broken gears. And here comes the unavoidable irony. Japan, once synonymous with discipline, hard work, and collective vision, now finds itself paralyzed by these same values. The young person who should be building the future closes the curtains and turns on the console. The adult who should be the family's pillar can barely stand on their feet. The elderly person who should be resting in old age now has to look for a job or, in more extreme cases, attention in unexpected places. It's almost as if each generation is waiting for the other to fix the problem. Young people expect the country to improve. Adults expect young people to rise. The elderly expect anyone to remember they exist. And meanwhile, the whole society remains trapped in a strange, silent, deeply exhausted loop. The most unsettling part is that no one really knows how to break it. Public policies try, numbers go up and down, economists debate solutions, but in daily life, what truly moves a nation is still missing: energy, perspective, and above all, hope. A country doesn't fall into a birth rate crisis just because of bad economics. It falls when people lose the desire to build something bigger than their own problems. And then comes the most uncomfortable question of all. If Japan, one of the richest, most organized, and most technologically advanced nations on Earth, can't solve this dilemma, who can? It's easy to point fingers and blame the youth for not wanting anything, the adults for only complaining, or the elderly for not accepting old age. Harder is admitting that each of them is reacting to a system that broke from the inside, a system aging faster than the people trying to survive within it. Maybe the real question isn't, why is Japan like this? But are we looking at our own future too? As a warning or as a mirror, Japan's story forces us to face something few have the courage to admit. When a society loses its will to continue, it begins to disappear quietly, first in numbers, then in spirit. And now I want to hear from you. Who carries the biggest responsibility in this cycle? The young, who gave up? The adults, who collapsed? Or the system itself, which failed everyone? Leave your opinion in the comments, I'm reading all of them. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.